Shalom, ladies, and welcome to our study of Proverbs 31, Echet Chayil, the Woman of Valour. I just wanted to thank you all for your participation, for sharing your heart and your life experience as we've been going through verse by verse. For those of you who watch this at a later stage and you aren't aware, there is a Telegram group that you can actually join and share with the other ladies, and it's a support group. So we meet on a Wednesday evening American time, Thursday morning Australian time, and it's an opportunity to ask questions about the verses, to share with one another, share life experiences. As Paul wrote, that we need to have elder women teaching the younger woman. And we can only do that with revelation and sharing and having a platform where we can go, hey, this is the battles that I've got. Please help me. What would you do in this situation? Because we've all been through different times of our lives. Some of the ladies in the group have children. Some have the children out of the house already. Some haven't even started with families. And so it is so nice to bounce ideas off one another and to share, and to grow in our faith through that, through other people's mistakes or experiences. So let's just start, and we are on verse 13. So verse 13 says, she seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. So some translation says flax, others says linen, but it's the same thing as flax linen. And if we're going to have a look what this word seek says, it is from the Hebrew 1875, and it's darash. It means to tread or frequent, usually to follow or pursuit or search, by implication to seek or ask, specifically to worship. Diligently inquire, to search out, to seek. The word says that we need to diligently seek and search out the scriptures, to find revelation, to get an understanding. So we can see this is not just oh, Father, please help me in the situation. This is to build that relationship with Abba Father, to find your prayer room, to tread and frequently go and visit it. It's not just seeking Father when things are going tough. This is a personal relationship. If you just go to your husband when you need money, what kind of relationship is that going to be? It's going to fall apart because there's other things lacking. But when you build that intimate relationship with your husband and you get to know one another, you get to know what makes his heart beat, what makes him happy, what makes him sad, then your relationship has got an in-depth foundation. It's going to be able to withstand storms. Then when you need something, your man is going to be able to stand strongly behind you because he's going to know what your weaknesses are and what you need. That's exactly the same with Abba Father. We need to frequently seek him out. We need to specifically worship him on a daily basis, to diligently inquire from him what he wants from us. But let's go further and actually get an understanding about what that wool and flax and that is. But let's first go to those of you who've got the book, Woman of Valour. There we go. Please join me on page 43. So she writes here, the qualities of self-control and self-composure are expressions of a soul at peace. How much does one reach a place of maintaining calm dignity when surrounded by clamorous, insistent noise? It begins with the simple choice of rationally appraising a situation instead of allowing it to be dictated by fear and anger. Sounds impossible, right? This level of stability and maturity is not stumbled upon casually. It is carefully and wisely constructed over time and requires a pattern of choosing what is right and true. This involves exercising spiritual discernment to separate the holy from the profane and the necessary from the superfluous. So you see, this is something that takes diligence. Now, if we need to understand what garments are, and this is not just garments that we wear on a daily basis. And we're going to see further on what this linen and wool actually represents, because we need to be careful not to just read Proverbs 31 as just a story. There is in-depth understanding in this, and we need to understand what garments mean. So we even see in Revelation that Father talks about that we need to purify our garments. Those with their white robes will be entering into the kingdom. So we need to understand this properly. So if you want to pause, you can pause this and go and write down each of these passages and go and do a study about what garments mean. And I've also done a teaching on the garments of the righteous, and there I go even more in depth on it, and you can actually go and study that. I'll put the link in the comments below. So garments represents righteousness. Ecclesiastes 9:8, let thy garments be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. Revelation 3:18, I advise you to buy from me gold refined in the fire, so that you become rich, and white garments, so that you become dressed, so that the shame of your nakedness might not be shown, and anoint your eyes with ointment, so that you see. Zechariah 3:3, and Joshua, the high priest, was dressed in filthy garments, and was standing before the messenger. So you see the filthy garments, and go and read further in Zechariah 3:3. Here in Zechariah 3:4, which is the very next passage, it says, and he who answered and spoke to those who stood before him, saying, remove the filthy garments from him. And to him he said, see, I have removed your guilt from you, and shall put costly robes on you. So you see, your unrighteousness is like filthy rags. It's dirt. It clothes you in filth. And Father removes that guilt, that shame, and he gives you a righteous robe when you accept Yeshua Messiah. And we need to walk out our salvation by cleansing our garments, to be righteous as Yeshua is righteous. Joel 2:13 says, and tear your heart and not your garments, and turn back to Yeshua your Elohim, for he shows favor, and he is compassionate, patient, and of great kindness, and he shall relent concerning the evil. So we see how garments are related to your heart. What is your heart full of? That is what's going to be represented as spiritual garments. We are not, and that's why Joel talks about tear your heart, not your garments, because he's talking about it's your spiritual garment that you need to rent, that you need to work on. It's not the physical garment. If we're going to have a look at what the word wool means, wool is a textile fiber obtained from sheep and other mammals, especially goats, rabbits, and camelids. Now, I didn't even know that you got wool from all the other things. I just always thought wool was from sheep. And if we're going to have a look at the characteristics of wool, then we're going to have a better understanding of what the scripture is actually talking about. So wool fibers readily absorb moisture, but are not hollow. Wool ignites at a higher temperature than cotton and some synthetic fibers. It has a lower rate of flame spread and a lower rate of heat release, a lower heat of combustion, and does not melt or drip. It forms a char that is insulated and self-extinguishing. It contributes less to toxic gases and smoke than other flooring products when used in carpets. Wool carpets are specified for high safety environments such as trains and aircrafts. Wool is usually specified for garments for firefighters, soldiers, and others in occupations where they are exposed to the likelihood of fire. Wool can absorb almost 1/3 of its own weight in water. Wool absorbs sound like many other fabrics. So wool takes a lot before getting, a wool characteristic person takes a lot before getting angry or exploding. They do not let your emotions combust, run, or spread. You do not contribute to toxic people and or emotions. You will be the warmth of the home and those you come in contact with. You will be a garment of safety for your husband, children, and others. So that's the positive of wool. And the negative of wool is that you've got to be careful that you don't, because when it gets wet, it gets heavy. So you've got to know when this characteristic needs to be on the forefront and when linen needs to be on the forefront. But we'll have a look at that a bit further. So flax or linen. Linen is valued for its strength, luster, durability, and moisture absorbency. It is resistant to attack by microorganisms, and its smooth surface repels dirt. It is stronger than cotton, dries more quickly, and is more slowly affected by exposure to sunlight. It can be bleached to a pure white, but dyeing is somewhat difficult because the fibers are not readily penetrated. Although linen increases in strength when wet, the excessive use of alkalis in laundering can weaken the fibers. Because linen absorbs and releases moisture quickly and is a good conductor of heat, linen garments have a cooling effect on the wearer. So you can see how wool warms you and linen is something that's cooling. So there's a season for you to have the characteristics of a linen person and characteristics of wool. Let's have a look at how this would be a characteristic for you to take on. You'll have strength and durability. You'll have an inner glow of purity. You will not easily absorb the evil around you. You will absorb the emotions of your loved ones without it weighing you down. You'll look after yourself and others to resist bacteria, viruses, and fungi. You'll have the ability to calm others when they are upset and or angry. You will be the strength of those who are in a time of weakness through prayer, intercession, and counsel. So you see how in depth this characteristics are when we go and have a look at, and you can only get this when you frequent the presence of Abba Father. Let's look in page 44 and 45 of the Woman of Valour. So she writes here, people are commanded not to mix wool and linen in their garments. It is an opportunity to invite him to participate in even the selecting of clothing. This seemingly irrational exercise is an opportunity to practice separation and decision making. In the current culture where little is sacred, careful consideration of everyday practical choices of life is a foreign concept indeed. I am not suggesting that constant religious and fearfully uptight deliberation is necessary, but Jehovah invites us to elevate the mundane to a more spiritual level. After all, true holiness is not found in pomp and ceremony, but in personal purity and wise decision made one at a time. This principle of separation brings order from chaos. Most of us have experienced opening the door of a neglected storage closet and feeling overwhelmed by a tangle of things we have been intending to deal with eventually. To organize, we must remove everything and begin to separate, categorize, and make decisions whether to keep or discard. If we don't give up, this daunting task will result in a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment and order. After all, in the beginning, the world was formless and void until Jehovah separated light from darkness to establish the order of a physical planet for us to inhabit. To bring order to our own inner world of thoughts and intents, we must do the same. It is imperative to separate the light from the darkness, or in other words, truth from lies. She quotes here from Caroline Leaf, Who Switched Off My Brain, page 83. It says, remember, our behavior follows our thoughts, not the other way around. Analyzing and addressing our thoughts are key components of conquering the habits and behaviors that seem to hold us hostage. The actual physical change detoxing creates in our thought lives can unlock the mentally imposed chains that bind us to our compulsive behaviors and unsatisfactory circumstances we find ourselves in. So let's capture the thoughts. Nobody can clean out the jumbled closet of my mind except me. The clutter that accumulates over time is a mixture of beliefs, both true and false. Our perceptions and memories become a combination of how we can choose how we have chosen to interpret our own story and a tangled web of truth and lies. The only way to resolve this dilemma is to hold every thought up to the light of truth. If I don't fill my mind with Jehovah's eternal truth, I cannot possibly succeed in bringing peace and order to my inner world. So you see how important it is for us to frequent with Abba Father, so that we can actually start getting the characteristics of wool or linen, and to have the discernment to know when to walk in that characteristics. So let's just go and see what the word work means. Work means asa, which is a primitive root to do or to make. In the broader sense, it is to accomplish or advance, or to bring forth. So we can see this used in Genesis when Jehovah made the earth. He made it. That is the same word as work, that asa. I've put some other passages there that you can actually go and have a look at. Genesis 1 verse 7, 11, 12, 16, 25 and 26. And that's all exactly the same word. It is to bring something to its fullness, to accomplish, to advance it. This willingly is chafetz, which is a desire, a valuable thing, to delight in something, to purpose, and to be willingly. So are you willingly seeking Abba Father? Are you willingly frequenting your time with Him so that you can advance your characteristics? The word here for hands is actually a beautiful one. It's kaf, which is the hollow hands. So that is where you can actually receive. It's a humbleness. If you go and have a look at beggars on the side of the road, they don't hold their hands out like that. They hold their hands out like this to receive from Father. We need to come before Father with open hands, with a humbleness. Psalm 145 says, Jehovah upholds all that fall and raise up all those that be bowed down. So we can only extend our characteristics and work on ourselves when we are humble, when we are coming before Father without preconceived ideas, willing to lay down the lies, willing to be humble enough to be corrected by Abba Father, when Father shows you a lie that you have been taught or walking in or living or believing, that you will be willing to surrender and get Father's truth. And many of us have been bombarded with lies from our families. With their actions, we've been rejected. With their looks, we've been told that we are stupid or idiots or ugly or not as pretty. They might not say, oh, you're ugly. They might just say, oh, you're not as clever as your brother or your sister. Maybe you should try your hand at this or that. Or you're not as talented as your sister in singing. Maybe you should try your talents, over here or there. Even that that might seem positive can actually really break us. And we start believing those lies that we aren't good enough. But Father wants to replace those lies. Because if we don't replace those lies, it starts affecting the way we raise our children. It starts affecting our relationship with our husbands, because we want them to start filling that void that we've got instead of letting Father fill that void. I want you to go to page 46 and 47 for those of you who've got the book. What Robin writes here brings so much more depth to this passage as well. So a woman's hands can extend, working willingly to build a sacred world around her, or they can be chains with which she literally tears down her own life and the life of the ones she captures. I'm intrigued by the fact that a woman's hands can build up or tear down, depending on the intent of the one extending them. Two areas of our bodies that are not typically clothed or concealed are the face and the hands. Perhaps this suggests that those two areas are not so personal to us, but are also for others to see and experience. My face expresses my thoughts, and my hands are the way I interact with the world around me. My face is public real estate. Ask yourself what effect your facial expressions and physical touch are having on others. These inferred divine standards can seem nebulous and elusive at times. As I think about working with willing hands, I confess that often my willingness is calibrated by the degree of appreciation I sense from those I'm serving. It is easy for my ego to suggest that I'm wasting my time because nobody notices or appreciates what I'm doing, and that I should be using my time and energy to pursue my own leisure and gratification. It is essential to remember who I am. Who am I serving? And that there is more to life than what I can see and feel at the moment. If I sometimes despair at my dire need for proper manicure, I am learning to see beyond the ragged cuticles and age spots. Hands are God's idea for how we affect our world. He trains my hands for battle so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. Remember, the word chahil is a military term and means warrior. I would rather be a warrior with unkept hands than a weak woman with smooth skin and perfect nails. I guess the ideal would be a warrior with a perfect manicure. So I want you ladies to really go and ponder this week on where you are falling short, and are you discerning correctly which characteristic to present to the people around you. Are you being the linen when you need to be linen? Are you presenting the wool characteristics when you need to be the wool characteristics? Are you taking the environment around you when it's hot and emotional and calming those people down? Or are you contributing to the toxic people? So really just go and have a look at these characteristics again and see how you are applying this on a daily basis in your life. Here are a few questions that I want you ladies to ponder on. Are you at peace within yourself? What effect does your facial expression have on those around you? Remember, children are very, very sensitive to this. We can fake a smile, but children can see through that. And many adults too. Especially people who are more prophetically inclined and more spiritually inclined. They pick up on your emotions or the non-verbal cues they pick up on. What effect does your physical touch or presence have on those around you? Do you come in with leave a room where people feel more positive, more motivated? Or do you come in and drain the environment around you, where people are too scared to ask you, how are you doing? Because they know that it's going to be an hour worth of emotional diarrhea. So be careful how you are presenting yourself, because remember, we are ambassadors for Abba Father. Have you stopped doing good because of feeling unappreciated? And many women get to this later on in their lives, especially with their husbands. They'll stop doing those nice romantic little things that will make the man feel appreciated because you're feeling unappreciated. Father wants us to do everything, love our husbands as if we are loving him. And we need to serve our husbands, not to get appreciation from your husbands, but because we are doing it to honor Abba Father. When we do what we are meant to be doing to serve our husbands, to serve our children, and I'm not saying to be a doormat, please do this with discernment, but when you're doing this, you're doing it to glorify Abba Father. You're being an example of what love is. Have you mastered self-control and self-composure? I fall short on that. And I think many of us do, because many times our emotions take over. So this coming week, when something happens, when your husband triggers you, or when your children trigger you, or that idiot driver who's cut in front of you, take a breath and count to 5. It sounds stupid, and I know we've heard that many times. Just count to 5 or count to 10. But be more purposeful to be an example for Abba Father, to be honorable to him, and put that guard in front of your mouth. So try and work on self-control and self-composure this week. And I want you to go before Abba Father and ask Father, how does he see your garments? This is something that I never thought of doing until I started doing the study. And I went to go and ask Father, how do my garments look? And it was amazing how Father opened up and showed me where I had bitterness still, where I had unforgiveness still, where I had even had disappointment towards Abba Father because of things that I prayed for and wasn't answered. So go and ask Abba Father. Spend time and write these things in your prayer diary. And really be honest. Ask Father to reveal to you where you fall short. Ask Father to reveal to you what you need to know about each and everything. Don't just go through these verses and get it as head knowledge. Be very purposeful and spend time with Father and ask him to make this part of you, because that's the only way you're going to grow. That's the only way you're going to mature into the bride of Messiah, which is the woman of valor. Thank you, ladies, for joining me, and I look forward to spending the next verse with you. Verse 14 we're going to next week. Blessings and shalom.